Internet failures. Welcome back to Pushing Technology to the Limit. Ask yourself, do I have slow internet? Am I spending too much time rebooting my modems or routers? If so, this video is for you. I have had a lot of internet issues in the past, and these are some troubleshooting tips to help you fix your internet by yourself without your ISP, Internet Service Provider. So, one of the things that you want to try to do, and I know this is going to be a little bit of money, but if you are having internet issues right now with staying online, I recommend whatever company you are with, whether you are cable, fiber optics, or DSL, to go get another replacement modem. Now, on the other hand, there's another part that can fail, and that's your router. But first, let's deal with your modem. I don't know about cable or fiber optics modems. I'm sure they're all the same, just like DSL. But they only last 2 years. And they're designed to fail, to overheat, and to die on you. Now, if you are having slow internet, and sometimes your internet just conks out for no reason, it's to do with your modems or your router. So this is what I recommend doing, is getting a replacement modem. Try your modem first, because that's the guy that's providing you internet. And I will show you my modem setup and my router. This is what I recommend folks doing, whether you're a home user, business user, or you just have a small business right out of your house. Now, with home routers, I don't like them as much. For one reason is you're only able to get 4 devices on it, whether it's wireless or wired. With a business router, you can hold up a lot more. Now, I have found certain brands are more reasonably priced than others. I can't recommend which brand to go with, because I just have so many. I mean, if you watched my previous videos, you know I'm a Netgear nut. I do everything with Netgear, but some things are not. And so, with a home router, they do not last as long as a business router. I know I'm off the subject. Let me get back on fixing your modem. So, what I recommend doing is buying another modem and just keep it. If it works, great. But if that's not your problem, I'd still just keep it on hand. And then replace your router. And with a home router, I mean, there's common, like, I don't know if I said anything to you about this, but there's combination units now where they have a modem / router. I don't recommend those, because what if your modem dies or your router dies? You're stuck with just a modem. I'd rather have you folks have one modem, a separate modem, and one router. Let me show you my setup right now. So here's my modem. I actually have a fan installed on this to keep it running. It has lasted longer than 2 years now, and it still runs great. Here's my TP-Link router, and this is a small business class router. Works fine, and it's not wireless. There's some business routers that you can get that are wireless, but I'm against wireless, and I'll go into that on other videos. So what I would do first to get things to troubleshoot your internet issues is to shut down your entire network, whatever you may have installed, and just reboot the modem, wait 2 minutes, then do your router and wait 2 minutes. Now if you're still having issues with your internet, I would isolate the modem. And what I would do next is, if you have well, I would go with 2 wired PCs because that's what I use. I would hook up the 2 PCs and turn them on and run it without the internet. Then I would transfer files, big files. Depending on how much you have, I don't know, like if you have video files, audio files, if you have a massive MP3 collection or WAV, don't ask me what those stand for because I don't know. But those are the formats that are in audio now. Transfer those from computer to computer. See if that works. If you can send large amounts of data through your router and it stays running, then you know your router is good. So then I would look at your modem, and then I would, well, if you have some way to connect your modem directly to your PC, what I would do is connect it directly up to your PC and isolate your router, and then run your modem and do things on the internet as normal. Sometimes I have found that does not work as good for troubleshooting, just because you need to have more things connected to it to make it die. I'm not saying that it makes it die. If there's a heat problem and if it's heating up, it's going to die. And heat problems are so finicky that it's hard to tell when it's overheating. I mean, you can tell by if it's getting too warm, and sometimes you can't tell unless you take the top off. And if you own your own modem, like I do, I'd take the top off and put well, if you have an air compressor, spray cold air in it and see if it continues to work. And if it doesn't work, then I would suspect that it's not a heat problem and it's something else. So there's a lot of issues that go in with internet problems. And that goes with routers too, for heat issues. If your router is doing a lot of work, it can overheat. And if that part is sensitive to heat, it's going to shut off. So that's where I would start with troubleshooting your internet, is replace the modem and replace the router. And stay away from those combo units. If you need help with this, like setting up just your modem and router, there's a lot of information on the internet how to do that. I can do it, but you can find the information on the internet or call somebody to help you out, like a friend, or, you know, I don't recommend stores really. I mean, they do work, but they're going to overcharge you. And I can't really go through a video to show you how to set up your modem and router. That'd be too hard. So I hope this video gives you a little bit of a heads up on what to look for in failures on your network. The other thing I would do is write down the date. Put it on a sticker. That's what I do. I put it right on the top of my modem and router, or either the top or the bottom. If you don't like looking at stickers and stuff on things, put it on the bottom. And things should a router, if it's a good router, I mean, like I said, I don't really know what a good router is out there unless it just works. Then it's a good router. But a router should last at least 10 years. A modem lasts 2 years unless you do modifications to it, like putting a cooling fan, drilling a hole into it and putting a cooling fan on top of it. Or you can just buy, I don't know if I've said this before, but a laptop cooler. Or anything, just put a fan on the side of it and just blow over it. Just keep the heat down. And it will last a lot longer. Yes, it will be noisier, but it's well worth it instead of having to shell out, $100 here, $100 there. Because it all adds up if you have to buy a new modem and router each time. But a lot of times, my issues has always been the modem, never the router. It's been a small case that it was a router, but when I did my troubleshooting, I found out that my router was perfectly fine. It was my modem. The modem really is the guy that does a lot of work. I mean, the router does too, but when you're coming to internet and you're uploading and downloading things, that's a lot of work for that little modem, whether it's fiber optics, cable, or DSL. So that's just some tips on trying to help you get your internet going. And rebooting does help. And if you got a good size network, this would be a whole nother video. But what I've had to do in the past is I've had to reboot my network every 30 days. And it's like a refresh. And what I did is to me it's hard because everything relies on my network here. I shut it down overnight, let it rest for 8 hours, then reboot it in the morning. Now if you have a small network, then you would have no problem. But if it's a network like mine, it takes me hours to reboot. And there's issue. I don't know. I got, the first time that somebody told me how to reboot my network, I have proven that in my network not to be the case. Now that wouldn't be everybody's case. But the first two things I reboot in my network is my modems are first, then my router, then my switches, then the PCs. And like I said, everybody's case is going to be just a little bit different depending on size of network. But the only things that I see that you really have to boot first is your router, your modem, and your router. And then after that, you have to boot the switches, and not what order that they're connected. That's how somebody taught me one time, was I had to boot the first device on port 1. Well, obviously that's not true. But I mean, like I said, it depends on if it on your network structure, how you have things set up. But for me, I can just boot my modem and router and then the switches, and then I'm fine. And I have found that I haven't had to wait 2 minutes like they've said, but it's always a good idea to do so, because I have found some issues at times with rebooting it under that. So I hope this video helps you out and gets you going. If you need any more advice, there's a lot of other resources on Facebook. There's a Facebook of Pushing Technology to the Limit. That's a public forum that I run, and you can also look me up on Facebook, not just for Pushing Technology to the Limit, but I also have my own homepage, which is Tony Pushing Tech, and that's TEC, and that is Tony Pushing Tech, TEC. So I hope you get going on your internet and you get that fixed by yourself without having to call your internet company. And I'll see you the next time on Pushing Technology to the Limit.